Welcome to Wisdom Talk Radio, a collaborative community of explorers in conscious living. Welcome to today's episode of Wisdom Talk Radio. This is where we explore the depths of conscious living and what it truly means and how to live an expanded life. Join us to be inspired and encouraged, transformed perhaps, and to tap into a deeper sense of wisdom, joy, and possibility. Right now, perhaps more than ever before, we need the visionaries and the transformers in our world. We need people to remind us of our inner light and of how to let it shine. My guest today will definitely light you up and encourage the visionary within you. I'm Laurie Seymour, host of Wisdom Talk Radio and CEO and founder of the Baca Institute, home of the quantum connection process. You can go there to discover your unique connection with the essence of who you are by taking the quantum connection quiz. Well, why do I say quantum connection? What the heck does that mean? We're each designed to connect with Source directly, differently. And knowing your own style helps you to open that deeper connection with the universe. It's really the secret to creating what you want in your life, because who you are is who is needed. So my guest today is Julie Wignall. Excuse me, I know that. Her journey from collaborating with corporations to leading innovative conservation initiatives earned her international acclaim and solidified her reputation as a visionary changemaker. Julie realized she'd encountered many remarkable people throughout her life and career who, like her, had forged uncommon pathways to creating meaningful change. Julie coined the term fireflies to describe these visionaries, people who see beyond what is and take action. That's really a key piece to create a better reality. She has written a multi-award-winning book, The Extraordinary Power of Fireflies, How to Shine Your Light Brighter and Transform the World. And isn't that just like one of the best titles you've ever read? And having just been in the process of creating and choosing and finding a title for my book, I say bravo, Julie. Julie is a sought-after consultant, workshop leader, coach, and speaker. And she empowers change makers with the tools to align with their purpose and amplify their impact as she shares what is possible when individuals harness their light to transform the world. And I wanted to say all of that because all of that is so important to me, and I'm honored to welcome you, Julie, to Wisdom Talk Radio. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Laurie. I'm delighted to be here.
And we're going to get going, aren't we? So I said a sentence about how you talk about what fireflies are, but really, I know you have a lot more to say about what are the human fireflies. What does that mean?
The reason why I chose fireflies in the first place, it's to remind people of the power that we have. A firefly, it's blinking its light back and forth. Anyone who's ever seen one dancing across the field at twilight, it's magical. And when we're kids, we look at it and we feel magical, and that's very powerful. And talking about fireflies to adults, it's like, oh, I remember fireflies when I was a kid, and their eyes begin to twinkle and sparkle, and it's like, you're remembering that you're magical. You're remembering the power that you have inside. We've all got that light inside. Scientifically, we all
do.
glow. And we know that now. And that's been shown. But fireflies themselves, there are so many things that I love about them. They don't ask for permission to shine.
Ooh.
They shine because they can. How many times do we go, "Ugh, I know, but if I make myself big," and I've had people say to me, "Oh, but your light is so bright. Maybe like you should bring this back a little bit." And I say to people, you get that kind of response, it's time to hand out sunglasses and say, if my light is too bright for your eyes,
Ah,
maybe you need these. Um,
not that I should dial something back. That's your key
Right.
piece
And
there.
we do that. We do that way, way too much.
Mm.
Fireflies, there are over 2,000 species of fireflies
Wow,
found
I
all
didn't
over
know
the
that.
world. And they glow in different colors. There are fireflies that glow in orange and in yellow and in blue and in
You're
green.
kidding.
I mean, this is a family that embraces a huge amount of diversity. And just like you work, I do exactly the same thing. We're not trying to put anybody into a cookie cutter mold to say
Mhm.
this is what you're supposed to do or how to go. We encourage people to go find their own path.
Yeah,
And you're the map maker because you're going into places usually where nobody's done this before.
right.
And you want to shine and to understand that when you shine, you're really giving other people who are waiting,
Mm-hmm.
hoping, it's like you're giving them permission where they go, if you can shine, I can shine too. But
Yeah.
here's the coolest thing about fireflies in two places in the world that we know about,
Mm-hmm.
one being in Malaysia and one being right here in the United States in the Smoky Mountains. We have fireflies that are synchronous and they glow together in groups by the hundreds. They come out later than those dusk fireflies that most of us grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
They wait until the forest is so dark, it's hard to see the tips of your fingers. And you talk about something that's enchanting. Imagine hundreds of fireflies blinking and another group of 100 answering them. And these are in
Oh,
the greenish yellow, but then we have blue ghost fireflies that look like landing strips all along the bottom of the forest floor. And it's close to midnight and the entire forest is lit up, just
wow.
light.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you realize, when we look at fireflies, we're focusing on the light, not the darkness around it.
Mm-hmm. But we
That
wouldn't see them without the
with,
darkness. So we
without
need
that
the
darkness.
contrast.
So Jungian psychology background, a lot of us call that, your
Mm-hmm.
shadow, whether it's your childhood trauma, it's this problem, it's that problem. And the answer to me is you don't push that aside. You welcome that shadow. You have it walk side by side with you so that your light can be seen because that's part of what makes us the
Mm.
people that we are in terms of moving forward.
Wow. You've just given me a whole education that I didn't know anything about. So
Well,
go ahead.
what I was going to say, one of the big things in terms of writing the book is that you start with biology, or I started with biology, I should say. And, the biggest number one concept that they teach you is everything is connected.
Mm-hmm.
And you pivot from biology, you go into psychology. Everything is connected as whatever you see above, as above, so below. What's
Mm-hmm.
going on in your world, what's going on deep down. No matter what field you pivot to,
Mm-hmm.
it's the same thing. Everything is connected. There's a
Mm-hmm.
concept that I actually just learned about this year called consilience, that is that concept of pulling together, which I think a lot of fireflies do of the humankind,
Mm-hmm.
things from all of these different fields, whether you're talking quantum physics, whether you're talking metaphysics, spirituality, science, social justice, economics, it's all that everything is connected. And as we look at this
Mm-hmm.
from all of these different perspectives, when we start opening up to new possibilities of what could take place, what things could look like in terms of what future do we want to create? Because this isn't a matter of today saying, oh, this needs to be torn down, this doesn't work, this doesn't work. It's more of a concept of what do we want to build? What do we want that future to look
Mm-hmm.
like? And then having the courage to take action to start working in that direction.
Wow, you've just turned on a light around other things within me right now. This, you said consilience.
Consilience.
So I've always been a person that loves to connect things. I remember in my early 20s in my graduate program, I was studying traditional Chinese acupuncture theory. And so I learned about five element theory. And then I started bringing in these other systems and how they connected. And oh, that looks like that, and that looks like that. And the whole search for self. And I met Joseph Campbell and, introduced to the hero's journey. And all of that is so connected. And it very much is at the heart of my work right now, which is that we are eternally and always connected to
Yeah.
everything and to source.
Yeah.
But to be able from what are we going to create in the world? That's what you've taken it into with this. And it's almost like we can start anywhere. And
That's the whole
go
point.
ahead.
So,
You know what I'm
and
going to say. Yeah.
Or you or I are on completely the same
Yeah.
way. And I'll preface this by saying I understand exactly what you were doing in your 20s. I did the same thing and they were ready to kick me out. I was attending the USDA graduate school in Washington, D.C., all in marine science.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a course in marine ecology. I took it once.
Mm-hmm.
And all right, so graduate degree, you're done with that, move on. But they were teaching the same course again, but this time it was being taught by an economist. And then they were teaching it by a chemist. And it's like, you know what? This is a whole different class every time I do it. And it's giving me
Mm-hmm.
new perspective
Yeah.
on, and I'm now making connections that I wasn't thinking before,
Mm-hmm.
that this becomes really important. And, like you said, we come to this from all different angles. And how many people stop themselves? We let this self-doubt take over.
Mm-hmm.
I can't move forward with what I want to do because I don't have a degree. So that will be the one person. Then you've got the other person, and they'll go, well, I do have the degree, but I've got the degree in the wrong area, so I can't do anything. And we come up with excuses, and of course, there's always the naysayers going, you don't really think that you're going to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to blame them for setting up these obstacles in the past. They're right. Our path,
Yeah.
they said we can't do it, we can't do it. And the truth is it's that it feeds on our own self-doubts.
Exactly.
Going, I can't move forward because I'm not good enough, I'm not deserving enough.
I didn't have the right whatever.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And the point is today, and this is where we all, as we gain this new awareness, everybody is needed in elevating to a higher level to say we are all needed, no matter what your background is. There's something there that's given you a superpower and a perspective that other people don't necessarily have.
Mm-hmm. Oh, bravo.
And I take that even a step, working on projects a step further. I really, my favorite thing is working on projects, and I encourage everybody, multi-generational. People say, oh, we're so open to everything today in our society, but then we've got, well, this is a youth-led movement, or this is a senior citizen-led movement. And we need more human people-led movements, where in those movements, we have seniors that we're listening to. We have people in their 40s and 50s and 40s, and we need that 10-year-old too, who reminds us to lighten up and have a little bit of fun along the way. Isn't that why we all love our pets and grandchildren and everything else? They remind us the importance of just being in that moment and playing.
It's also why we need every culture. We need the other cultures, because we can only see what we can see.
Right.
And somebody else can come in with a whole other perspective. We go, well, wait a minute, I never thought about that. And I never thought about it like that. And
right.
Doesn't mean that I'm wrong now. It simply means that I've been broadened because I've let something else in.
Yes. And there's a different way to look at things.
Yeah. So part of this book, and part of, I know, your whole journey has been to find these fireflies, and you write a lot about a lot of different people's stories in your book. These, amazing amazing projects and creations that we wouldn't know about. So what made you want to do this kind of research and then writing about those?
All right, so I'm going to pull the curtains back a little bit and give you a little behind
Okay.
the scenes look at what actually took place.
Hmm.
I started writing this book. I have a very unconventional background, and I thought, okay, so I'm going to write about the lessons that I've learned through
Hmm.
this unconventional background, from international business to national politics to environmental
Hmm.
conservation, corporate 500, Fortune 500 company, nonprofits, little. But I thought if I were reading this book,
Hmm.
I'd go, oh, well, good for her. She could do this.
Yeah.
But the rest of us can't do that. And I've met enough people that I went, you know what? I want to highlight other people who showcase and just show my way is not the only way. There are many paths up to the top of the mountain.
Hmm.
It's not, it's like how many times you go, oh, there's another diet book where somebody says to you, if you want to lose weight, this is the only way to do this, my
Hmm.
way or the highway. This
Yeah.
is how to make your first $1 million. And it's like, wait a minute, we each have a path. Actually, Carl Jung said, if the path before you is really clear, you're probably on someone else. But here's what's interesting, pulling the curtains back, is as I said, I want to write about people around the world
Hmm.
that are examples of what I'm writing about. This was during the pandemic. And I said, not only do I want to write about them, I want to reach out to them so that they know I'm including them in the book. And I want them to
Hmm.
read what I'm writing to say, is this correct? I don't want to do a paste. I want your input to say, how do you want to be presented? And this was not my original group of people that I was planning on writing about.
Ah.
First group are people that if I were mentioning names or causes or whatever, you'd probably be going, I think I read an article about that, or I think
Hmm.
I saw something like that on a TV show or whatever. And as I went to go find these people, I found out that they were basically all frauds and they
Oh.
weren't doing what they said they were doing. And
Oh.
you want to be proud of the people. This is like my baby, my book. You want to feel good about that.
Hmm.
And as I got closer to certain people said, "Why would you write about this person? They are such a jerk." Which brought me to something really important. We all spend as coaches a lot of time talking about the importance of, being happy, what makes you happy, finding your purpose, following that purpose. Why are you doing what you're doing? But in today's world and through what I went through, I realized a code of values is so important in terms of how we move through.
Hmm.
Once we come up with that purpose, what is your
Hmm.
code of values? What do you stand for? We keep seeing people who don't really embrace diversity,
Hmm.
or honesty doesn't mean a lot, or integrity. So it's like, what means a lot to you? Because to become a change maker and to become a leader where you're encouraging other people to come along with you, you have to build trust. And how do you do that? You got to be living by that code of ethics. When you say that,
Yes. That's the bottom line integrity, isn't it?
ethics, integrity, honesty, transparency, being authentic. Um,
Even if
and
you, I want to interject something because I, even if you don't, let's say, agree with them politically or think that, because I loved, and I want to talk with you about business at some point, but I love that you went into the heart of the business world with within the heart of a big businessman.
and to
And
find people who think differently, right? Because they got
yes,
a lot to teach us.
right, exactly, exactly. And so when we
Yeah.
go beyond the stereotype of what we think we want to support or, join in with, to find what, like you just were talking about, what really means something to you. Do they have
Yeah.
integrity? Do they have truth in what they're putting out? Are they, whatever it is, whatever that is.
Yes. And my final straw that broke the proverbial camel's back
Mhm.
was I wanted to write about failure. And I've worked with a number of major nonprofits, things that I bought into and things that failed. They failed miserably. And I've seen people who've said, oh, and let's fail forward, let's learn from it. And they've given great speeches to their staff. And I've
Mm.
been in some of these meetings. And I reached out to some of these people and said, would you be willing to share this? And every single person was like, "Ugh, I can't have that in a book. I can't have that documented." So I actually ended up writing my own story of failing
Mhm.
miserably when I created the first aquarium program for kids who were visually impaired that fell flat on its face because I missed the number one thing. I talked to all the researchers and the scientists. I forgot to talk to the kids, my audience. I was trying to reach, and they were like, "No, we don't get any of this."
Mhm.
So I made it mine because it's also our list of our code of values, what we stand for. But when we talk about creating the world that we want to live in, if I say that I want to live in a world that's very authentic,
Mhm.
then that has to, for me, include a world where it's okay to fail, because nobody makes it to the top of that mountain without tons of failures. And I say to everybody, if you don't believe me, go sit and listen to one of those Academy Award speeches that go on and on and on and on. Nobody makes it by themselves. And because everybody is acknowledging these were all my slip ups, and these were the people who helped me
Mhm.
get
Mhm.
to the next level. So I was like, well, if I want to live in a world like that, then I have to agree to become authentic and
Mhm.
lay it out myself. But when no one would stand up for any of that, even though they all gave the lip service to say, oh, yeah, no problem, it was the pandemic. And I was like, oh my gosh, all these people have fallen through. Is there
Wow.
nobody good in the world anymore? I've met all these people who've done things, but now I'm digging deeper and I don't feel comfortable sharing anything. And I have a wonderful publisher who said, Julie, take a week or two off and start from the beginning and go
Mm.
back again. So this was the crew that's in the book right now that not only did I write about, but I have to tell you, like any true Firefly, they have all continued to do
Mhm.
new things. And so they continue to inspire me actually every single day. One of the gentlemen I wrote about who had stopped talking so that he could learn how to listen,
Mm.
he became what they call him Planet Walker, and because he'd start just walking from place to place
Mhm.
just to
Mhm.
listen to people. This gentleman is 78 years old, and when the book came out, I got an email, and he said, Julie, you might not be able to reach me. I am leaving tomorrow on a plane for Johannesburg, South Africa, and I'm
Mm.
planning on doing a walk from South Africa all the way up to Kenya.
No.
And it's like these people are
Wow.
still just wowing me with what they do. He's 78. One of the women that I wrote about, who was helping actually in Africa, an artist that was creating dolls of color for a program to help nurture students.
Mhm.
She sent me a note. She said, It's never too late. You're never too old. I'm 84 years old and I am
Mhm.
doing my first one-woman art exhibit right now. I'm being
Ooh.
by a museum. So it's, everybody is on all different levels, on all different paths,
Yeah.
but continuing to do amazing things.
Yeah. And continuing to inspire.
Right.
Yeah. And change the world. That's it. So on the other side of things, what do you think stops people from following their dreams? Because people have dreams. I mean, I have been in this world. I started out as a psychotherapist, and I'm still in that world of, being with people and bringing out their potential.
Yeah.
And so, and so I know that people have dreams. Everybody's got them, even the people that say, "Oh, well, I don't have any dreams." They do.
Yeah.
They're not telling you, they've forgotten, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But that inner capacity or desire to shine, what do you
Yeah.
think gets in the way?
I think this starts as we make our way into adulthood. I think about this when we're kids. You ask any kid, what makes you happy? And they'll
Mhm.
go, this, and I like chocolate ice cream. like banana. I like to play outside on the swings. These are the things that I like. And there's a cultural conditioning, Laura, that I think begins taking place. I've seen, I'm sure you've seen it too, where you've got the kid goes, I really don't want to go to so and so's birthday party because they're mean and I don't really like
Mm.
them.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden you hear an adult or parent go, oh, well, that's not true. Of course you like them. They're in your class. It's, of course you're going to like this. I watched a kid, a young boy who loved playing with trucks in a daycare situation, but also loved putting pink nail polish on his nails.
Mm-hmm.
And pink was his favorite color. And I listened to his mother and the aunts going, oh, no, that is not your favorite color. It can't be your favorite color. It's this. So we start getting fed this
Mm-hmm.
information.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about it, when we're little, we're told, oh, you can grow up to be anything that you want to be. The sky's the limit. And that's kind of until we become teenagers. And then everything changes. And it's
Just a
like,
moment. What I told you before is not the truth.
yes. And now we better start thinking about your healthcare plan and your retirement plan. And it's like you haven't even started yet. But
Mm-hmm.
we have to think about these things and put those dreams to the side. You're
Mm-hmm.
not going to do it. And we're all enculturated of that. And
Mm-hmm.
I have to include myself in the whole thing. I have a background that also includes theater and film. So I know how hard it is to do anything and to make it in theater. And my husband worked with me within zoos and aquariums and very, very big on nature, has a strong background in the science of that too. And he said, I would like to do a TV series. And I am inside of my head rolling my eyes, going, yeah, you and a million other people, right? Um, and he said, this is what it is. And I said, well, then you need to write this out and see what it is. Absolutely. We could use this series on nature. And I never gave "Oh, please, it's a million to one shot. It's a this or that." 2 weeks later, he had his own television series. I mean, and when I tell you in terms of doing something like that, he was asked to do a promo, and we went and used a credit card and spent $9,000 on the professional camera to be there and
Mm-hmm.
got the promo. But 2 weeks later, he had a television series and actually won an Emmy Award for it. So
Oh, I
what
love it.
are
Oh,
what are we capable of?
right.
And when you do these exercises with clients, where it's like, let's get into that it's a happy place when you can reconnect with those dreams, and that
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
excitement is that window to our unlimited possibilities. But I think we all begin
Mm-hmm.
to listen to the naysayers. Oh, it can't happen. I have to do this. And then we find excuses. I can't do it because I have to stay home with kids, or I have to keep this job going. I have to do whatever. And the excuses are really just surface for the underneath of, I don't think I'm good enough. What if, and the biggest thing is, what if I fail? And
Mm-hmm. Back to failure.
it's okay
And
to
so what?
fail.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least you're moving forward.
Yeah. And
And
you're giving yourself the space to see, where do I need to pivot? How do I need to recreate? Because there isn't, the other thing I know so truly is it's not either or. We
yeah,
don't fail or succeed.
right,
Along the way we go, oh, so I am just, been sending out my book to some people that I trust to be advanced readers.
right.
And now by the time this goes on air, hopefully my book will be out. It should be. But in this moment, as we're talking, that's the case. And I got an email yesterday from someone that is one of those people. And there are some things in there that could have gone, oh my God. But it also made me so curious, like, okay, that's your experience. And what's that coming from? And what is that? And how could I make this book even better by bringing in some of what you're sharing with me?
Yes, yes. And I had that wonderful experience even working with the people I wrote about. Um,
Mm,
talking about working with business, one of the people I wrote about was Sebastian Salgado. He's a world famous photographer.
Mhm.
And he got his start also partnering with a corporation, and it was with Val Mining that was in Brazil. Huge, huge company, made
Mhm.
lots and lots of money, and they helped support his efforts in terms of
Hmm.
building photography exhibits that he could take around the world to be able to do things. He became, of course, very successful and started an institute back in Brazil to help reclaim rainforest area. But I was using that to talk about the power, because that had been my experience of working
Mhm.
with like Fortune 500 company, the big guns. And he said to me, I think that you're going to want to take me out of your book because I won't work with them anymore. And it's like, explain to me what happened. And this was a history that I was unaware of, where they had been very supportive and worked together, but the company had been sold and had been privatized, and they left a lot of safety issues go to the side. There were a few huge accidents where a number of people died that was unnecessary.
Mhm.
But I said, of course, I want to keep you in because that's part of the story now.
Mhm. Mhm.
Things change, and it's like you can't say, well, this is the way to do it, and it's always going to work this way, because it
Mhm.
doesn't. And you're right. It's not as black and white as this is failure, this is success, this is how to go. But that's where that code of ethics comes in, to say, my code of
Mhm.
ethics says I can work with you. You're the big business, you're the this and that, because right now we are sharing that same code
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
values. But my code of values also means protecting human life and safety. So it was no brainer to say, you guys aren't doing this anymore and we have to cut ties. I don't care how
Right.
much money
Mhm.
you want to give me. I can't do that.
Mhm. Mhm.
But that's also how we prevent putting ourselves in those positions where we go, oh my God, these people are
Mhm.
horrible. Why am I living off of the money of the bad guy things? Well, because your code of values wasn't really strongly in place.
Yeah. And business is not the devil. It's not about
Right,
getting into bed with the devil.
right.
Uh, it's to say, oh, wait, because for me, business is so creative. That's where a lot of the creativity is happening, is how do we do this? And let's create something new. And I've got an idea and let's see how we can make this real.
You're right. And Laura, this is what was so exciting for me, because I was in Washington, D.C., directing the National Aquarium and working with all kinds of big nonprofits, and people had great ideas. But
Mhm.
we were always in that pinch of, "Oh, it's time to do the next fundraising campaign, and it's time to do
Mhm.
the next fundraising campaign." And I kept saying, when is it time for us to do what that mission
Right.
statement is
Let's do
that we
the
said we're
work.
going to do? Yeah,
Mhm.
because it's time for the next fundraising campaign. And I mean, I had an education staff when I was at the National Aquarium, and they would go, Julie, what's our budget for next month? And we had, I kid you not, a fountain in the front of the aquarium where people would throw pennies in. And I'd say, the pennies that are in that aquarium, whatever they are,
Mm.
they're yours, and that's your budget for
Wow.
next month. And it's like, this is crazy.
Mhm.
And everybody talked about big business, and all business and corporations are greedy. And it's like, I thought about that, and it's like, business and corporations aren't greedy. People are
Right.
greedy
Right.
within businesses and corporations, but people are also greedy within nonprofits, and
Absolutely.
are greedy people. So if
Mhm.
greedy people, what about if there are people who aren't greedy, who want to use their positions to do things that are really good? And
Yeah.
that was the opportunity that I had in terms of leaving Washington, D.C. and coming to this crazy place called Las Vegas, Nevada, to work for a millionaire who's since become a billionaire, but who had a
Mhm.
for reshaping the city. And what was amazing was what you can do when you put the blinders on. Because what I
Mhm.
realized working with Steve Wynn, this multimillionaire visionary, is, and people don't remember this today, but at the time he had this vision for completely transforming Las Vegas. And you talk about the naysayers are there no matter at what level you are.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, well, here's this man and he's successful and has this money. He doesn't have any naysayers and there's
Yeah.
no insecurity. Every day there would be a news analysis saying economists from Wall
Mhm.
Street and from everywhere are all saying that no, he's going to have to make $1 million profit a day to stay in business. Everybody is
Mhm.
predicting and doing these projections that say he's going to open a hotel and it will close within 2 months. And I think of when we have the naysayers that a lot of times it's family members or neighbors or friends or, social acquaintances. This was somebody who the naysayers were like blasting this on the news everywhere. And it's really the importance of putting those blinders on, keeping that clarity that you
Mhm.
saying, I just have to move forward.
Keeping that connection,
Yes.
that
And
inside connection.
one of the things I learned from him at the time too was the importance of being able to also stand up and say, "Up, this didn't work."
Mm.
We keep coming up with excuses, and for gosh sakes, especially if you're on the news, well, we saw it a different way, and you kind of pivot back and forth. And
Mm.
watching him be honest with
Mhm.
press and to say, well, this is what I thought was going to happen. And it didn't. And, it's not just one huge success. There
Mhm.
were things
Mhm.
along the way that didn't work. And to be able to say that to the media, to reporters standing there saying it didn't work. Well, two things happen. First of all, you begin building up the trust in the reporters going, okay, he's not hiding anything,
Mhm.
sharing everything. And they're kinder because of that when they
Right.
share your story, and you in turn begin to build up more trust in the public who says, okay, he's going to tell us if it works or it doesn't. So
Because
we're going to follow
it's
that.
not ego that's running the
Right,
show at that
right.
point.
And that's the hardest thing to get past, right? Is
It is. And you talk, I think in your book, it could have been on your website, but I think it's in your book somewhere about using your awareness to examine whether an idea is intuition or emotion that's guiding you. And I talk about that in terms of discernment. A huge, I read that and went, yes, thank you. And and I'm going to quote you. Feeling something strongly in the pit of your stomach is not the same as knowing something strongly in the depths of your being.
yeah,
If you want to become more mindful of the world around you, you must become more mindful of the world within.
right.
Well, of
Yeah.
course, right. You said it.
And I laugh because everyone goes, "Oh no, that's that woo-woo stuff. We don't want to talk
No.
about it." And I have a fellow author who said, "Just stand up for woo-woo pride then." And it's like, you
Mm.
know what? People talked about it. It was psychic abilities and it was ESP, and now the new word is like intuition. And every major corporate leader talks about having intuition and how
Mhm.
intuition was a big play in what they did. And many, many years ago, as quick backstory, I actually had a mentor who went and lived on an island where the people were known to have these amazing, amazing intuitive
Mm.
psychic abilities. And he spent a year living there and he came back as a scientist. Do they have these powers or don't they? Yes, but the eye-opening thing is not that they have these, everybody has them, that
Mhm.
accept each other. Each one is better at something different within the community. But
Mhm.
he said, I look at how much in terms of our society and our culture that we dampen that down so that
Yep.
people go, I don't know. Is it my ego? Is it my intuition?
Yeah.
Is it, my fear speaking? How do we know the difference?
Yeah.
I always start with, it's checking in with yourself. How many people really, you start with
Mhm.
checking in with your body so that you know
Mhm.
what telltale signs are. I've worked with people and I'll go, you know what? you're not acting like yourself today. You're really snarky. What's going on? And they'll go, allergies are bad. And I just realized I've had a headache all day. And I'm sitting there going, how could you possibly be sitting there all day long and not
Mm-hmm.
realize
Mm-hmm.
that you have a headache? But our society conditions us, we become enculturated to be thinking about our deadlines, what we have to
Mm.
do, what we need to do for other people.
Looking
We
out, not
looking out
looking in.
instead of looking
Mm-hmm.
within. And
Yeah.
it's doing that checkpoint and realizing that we all have those tells
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
something's not right, and we've got the phrases for it, the butterflies in our stomach, that feeling in the pit of your stomach. But some people have tells, shoulder, ear aches. Everybody is
Mm-hmm.
different. And it starts with learning your tells, learning why, and becoming curious.
Becoming curious. Yes, I
And
love it. Mm-hmm.
I teach people a lot, when you're in a conversation and you notice that things are starting to get a little bit louder,
Mm-hmm.
hit an emotional point there.
Mm-hmm.
There's something underneath that is not necessarily having anything to do with the conversation, but until you're aware of that, or you're aware of it in yourself,
Mm-hmm.
someone says something that you go, I can't stand you, but you're
Yeah.
kind and you're nice. It's still being aware of how you're feeling inside and being curious and going back and going, what was it?
Yes, this is telling me something. I don't know what it is. It doesn't mean that
Right,
you're wrong or this is wrong, but let me, because I've noticed it, see what it is. Get
right.
curious.
And
Yeah.
I start from four pillars that we all have in terms of trying to find our, what makes us happy. But
Mm,
the needs of everybody, those pillars are foundation. Every person wants to be seen.
mm,
Every person wants to be heard. Every person wants to feel like they're
mm,
important. They're doing something important. And I believe every person wants to feel like they're part of something that's bigger than
mm.
themselves.
Yes.
And when you can check off all of those boxes, you're usually in a place where you're feeling really good and happy. But, when you're having a conversation and someone, for example, is really pushing back, they're not letting anybody speak.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
We've all been in situations like that. It's a matter of stepping back and to go, wait a minute, this is a person who's got a problem where why would you do that unless you obviously have some root below
mm,
that wasn't really heard, maybe growing up or family. And I have to tell you, I actually used a lot of this when I was working within a Fortune 500 company where I would be sitting with executives because, yes, we're working for a great visionary who also had a major temper. We all put up with phone calls in the middle of the night, weekends, and this and that. And I started asking other directors of other departments, not like, oh, how do you feel about this? And what's your relationship like with your parents? Let's go back to those family relationships.
ooh, mm-hmm,
And I can honestly tell you that 90% of the executives that worked within our corporation,
mm-hmm.
including myself, we all had issues growing up with father figures. So what do? We all want to feel like we're important. So how do you do that?
Mm,
If you're not working from within to give yourself approval, you need approval from someone else. So we're all taking phone calls at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, over holidays or whatever, because we need this man's approval.
mm-hmm.
And just the fact that we answered, he didn't yell at us, a lot of times that would be enough. And it's back to, like you said, you have to go within and to say, where is this coming from?
Yeah.
And if I don't want to be beholden to this person, I need to learn how to give myself approval to
Yes.
say, you know what, it's 2 o'clock in the morning and this is
Mm.
no longer part of my
My job description.
right? And my values. And
Mm-hmm.
and there are things that we all still work on. Someone said to me the other day, how do you balance all of this? You're doing so much in this and that. And I said, oh, don't be fooled that I found my way to balance yet.
And I think actually balance doesn't really exist. I'm here to say that's an ephemeral thing because change is constant. Everything's always in motion. So we need to know how to be able to be flexible. how to
Exactly.
pivot, and how to follow something beyond even intuition, which is our own inner guidance system.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And once we start tuning in, it is there. And
absolutely.
I take it from the first step of we start within, and I have an exercise on my website. There's just a free download of like 5 lessons to help shine your light brighter now. And one of
Uh-huh.
them is called the grocery store exercise. And I send people in there, how do you maneuver through a grocery store?
Mm-hmm.
I'm here just to pick up the lettuce. There could be 3 people laying on the floor over there, but I'm not going to notice it because I'm here to
Mm-hmm.
pick up the lettuce. Because
Mm-hmm.
your next step is once you start working on that awareness inside, is to start becoming more aware of the world around you. And how many people have you ever been in cars with that go, oh, and I spent this morning meditating and I just feel so in tune in it, one with the rest of the world. And next thing you know, they're beeping on the horn going, that idiot just cut me off. And it's like, where did that attunement come from? So
Mm-hmm.
how do you maneuver in a grocery store? Are you aware of the people that are there? If somebody's leaving their cart in the middle of an aisle, what do you do? Do you go
Mm-hmm.
around it? Do you push it aside? Do you go down a different aisle and just say it's another path?
Mm-hmm.
Would you be aware if there's someone who needs help getting something off the top shelf at the
Mm.
end of the aisle, if somebody's in need of help? Do you notice if somebody is like walking with a limp, or maybe they're hurting?
Mm-hmm.
Use a smile and a kind word. When you check out, if you're still checking out with a clerk that's there, do you smile? Do you carry on a conversation one-on-one to say, I
Yes.
see you
Yes.
and I hear you? And that as we start doing this, it becomes start being aware of
Yes.
that
And
whole world.
everything changes inside because of that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then when you really want to play, I tell people, okay, so if you're working on this, because everybody goes, yeah, but I'm not sure I got it or I didn't get it. And it's like, you're allowed to ask for signs. Let's see how in tune you are. We'll ask for signs. And actually, and I said, I'm here in Las Vegas, and I do have it here. Hold on, so I'm here in Las Vegas, and I was making some decisions, and it's like, am I really in tune? Am I on the right path? Is this
Mm-hmm.
like on the way that I want? And having worked with aquariums, I'm putting on earrings that have seahorses on them. And I'm thinking about this and I'm going, I could really use like a sign of a seahorse. And then I'm laughing and I'm going, you live in the desert. Where in the world are you going to find a sign of the seahorse?
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, I had to do a quick drop off at our library of some books I had taken out, and they have a used bookstore in there. And I walked past the used bookstore, and there was this kid's book that was sitting right there.
Oh, Mr.
That
Seahorse. And for those who are listening and on the podcast rather than watching it on YouTube, it's a
it's
beautiful multicolored seahorse.
and it's just a
Mhm.
children's book, but it's
But it popped
other
right into your awareness, into your arms.
with a seahorse. And whether you're talking about quantum physics, metaphysics, going back to Buddhism and awareness of the world, we give ourselves these signs, and we
Mhm.
are connected to a source energy and
Mhm.
things that are bigger than ourselves. But it's like, if that's the focus and you have that clarity, of course
Mhm.
you're going to get the signs that you're looking for.
Wow. Julie, thank you so much for all of your wisdom and everything you've shared. I know we could go for a lot longer, but please, will you tell people how they can find out more about you and what you're up to?
Absolutely. I have a website of www.extraordinaryfireflies.com. Really simple, just
Mm,
extraordinaryfireflies.com. And that connects to all of the social media pages, but there's also a free download. And what you all get with that download of not only just the 5 lessons to help you shine brighter, to give
mhm,
you an idea of what's in the book, but I have a mailing list, which just once a week, the whole purpose of this is to send out a note of encouragement
mm,
and inspiration, because I think we all need that, as
mhm.
just a small wink that says, keep going.
Keep
You
going.
got this. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Julie Wignall, for everything that you're doing in the world.
Oh, Laura, thank you. I love all the work that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to those of you who in our audience who are here today with us. Thank you for being part of Wisdom Talk Radio. Remember that you can find us every platform where you listen to podcasts. We're also on YouTube. And if you've enjoyed this episode today, please leave us a review, because it's really the reviews are part of how this spreads, how more people can become fireflies, how this kind of wisdom and transformation does impact us at a personal level, but then transforms the world. And for more for you about your own quantum connection and your own connection with the universe, go over to the Baca Institute and take the quantum connection quiz right now. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us here at Wisdom Talk Radio. We wish you well in your conscious explorations. For more information and to join in the conversation, our website is wisdomtalkradio.com or at Wisdom Talk Radio on Facebook.